Hey guys, this is Gatsby with Tape, and today you join me for episode 18 of Road to Colonisation. And we start around Duna. Yes, we arrived last time, and now we have to start sending some of these vehicles to the surface. So we start with the miner. It's going to land fairly close to the Duna base that we sent last on the last mission, which was in Road to Exploration. It's going to land fairly close to there so that we can make quick hops in our vehicles that we land at the base to refuel easily, so we just don't need as much fuel or don't need to be as careful, which is just, all good. So there we go, we decouple the docking port that was on the bottom that was held on there with a stack separator, just because, well, we didn't want to be hauling around extra weight that we didn't need to be. So yeah, just warp around the planet so that we're going to land roughly in the right place. Initially I wanted to land kind of to the west of the base, but I think I ended up landing to the east, but it doesn't really make a difference. As long as there's ore there, and there's lots of ore. That's kind of why I picked that place for the base, because there's a really big... that's where all of the ore is. I don't have a narrowband scanner with me, but that is pretty much the pinkest place on the planet when you turn on the overlay that shows you where the ore is. I don't have that on right now. I guess I did that off camera. But yeah, we're just going to tuck away the solar panels and the antenna now so that they don't get ripped off while we're re-entering, because we need both of them. It does, of course, have that little bar antenna, which is pretty good. And the nice thing about this is the Canterbury counts as a control station, so I have almost zero signal delay, which means I can pull my parachutes in real time, and I can tuck away solar panels in real time, which makes this whole process a lot easier. That's, I guess, just a feature of remote tech. Oh yeah, you can see where all the ore is right there. Pretty much everywhere. But yes, so that's pretty good. For some reason later that goes away, but for now I get zero signal delay, which is fantastic. I guess it's just the Kerbals on the ship controlling it. I think that's how, at least in the book, in The Martian, they describe the Mars Ascent vehicles being landed by the pilot on the Ares ship, which is pretty cool. Anyway, we're just pulling our parachutes now. The drogues first to get us subsonic so that we can pull the main chutes later and land softly, and those will go out fairly soon. We're actually about 30 kilometers from the base, which isn't ideal. I think I'll move it at some point, but for now it's fine, since we won't actually be needing to be particularly close to the base, but eventually I want it to be close to the base. Not in load range, because I don't want there to be too much lag, but maybe like 10 kilometers away would be good. Anyway, yes, here we are, touching down on Duna in the evening. Looks really beautiful in the evening, actually. The red's a little darker than it is usually. And yes, there we go, our first landing on Duna of the Canterbury's mission. Pretty nice. We'll deploy those solar panels and that antenna now. And then, yeah, we're going to wait for day before we start mining. There we go. There go the solar panels. And then a little later in the daytime, we're going to start deploying our radiators, of course. Those were tied to an action group, so they pop out all at the same time. And then we need to deploy our drills, I guess. Yeah, there's a signal delay now for some reason. I guess the Canterbury's on the other side of the planet. But there they go, deploying beautifully. And we're getting lots of ore. We did land in a good place. We'll let their thermal efficiency rise. But yes, they are indeed mining ore. So we can mine fuel here, and everything will be glorious. But anyway, back in orbit, the other part of our mining operation, the fuel shuttle. We just need to ditch this satellite that I brought with it so that it can communicate back to Kerbal on its transit here. And now that satellite's just going to be a useful communication satellite, a little relay. But yes, this needs to go to the surface of Duna. So we're going to do ourselves a quick little deorbit burn, and then an entry onto Duna. I guess it's not a re-entry since it's never been in the atmosphere of Duna before. But yes, this will go and land. This again has signal delay. I guess the Canterbury is just in a bad place for this to not have signal delay. So it will be a minute signal delay, which means I'm not actually even going to try and use the parachutes. I'm going to just land this on engines because it can. So yeah, here we are re-entering a little later after the footage you were just seeing, and yeah, because it has a very high thrust-to-weight ratio engine, and because fuel isn't a concern, because it's going to be landing next to a fuel miner, which can make all of the fuel it needs, we're just going to be landing on engines, and just because that's so much easier than having to time pulling parachutes 60 seconds in advance. It's fine for main chutes, actually, because they don't open until the pressure's quite high, but drogue chutes are quite hard to time. Most of the time they'll just rip off if you pull them too early, or you'll pull them too late and they'll be basically useless. And we were just doing a bit of a fine-tune there to make sure we actually land at the minor, because it's quite hard to precisely land on an atmospheric world unless you do it a lot, which I've kind of been getting good at on Kerbin, but I don't land that often on Duna. But anyway, yes, now we just need to slow down, so we'll actually land at the minor. It looks like I slightly overcorrected while trying to stop myself from landing short, but we're coming down now and everything is good. Just need to burn vertically, so again that we land closer to the minor. It's still called the Canterbury Probe. I should probably change that because, well, because it's not the Canterbury Probe. It's the Thor 2 minor, I guess. I think the Minmus minor was called the Thor minor. Oh no, I think that may have been from a very old series, and I'm just remembering. Anyway, we deploy our 8 landing legs. Yes, we've got all of those landing legs, and we land rather gently and safely. There we are, next to the minor. We'll bring a Kerbal down at some point to link them up. There was no Kerbal on board at this time, but we'll bring one down and link those up so that we can bring some fuel up to the Canterbury, because I think the Canterbury does need fuel. I haven't actually checked since it's ditched all of its payload though. Anyway, so now we're going to get one of these habitation modules out. We are also expanding the base on Duna. It's not actually super necessary, there's tons of space, but it would just look nicer to have a bit more of a, you know, a bigger base, like a bunch of modules. People will have their own little houses. You know, we're building colonies here, not little science bases. So yeah. And this will go and join the nice base on the surface. Although the base is made out of mod parts and this is all like stock stuff, so they'll look kind of different. But it's cool. I quite like how these look. They've got very small landing legs on the bottom, so they kind of basically just are one little thing. The engine's detached, so they should look quite sleek, is what I was going for. Yeah, but the engines and the fuel tanks just attach, kind of like missiles. Hopefully they won't hit anything, although I don't think they have the Delta V after landing. So yeah, now it's just a matter of, well, just keeping our trajectory on the right path. Yeah, I just do this by burning up and slightly prograde to counter the kind of drag, because it keeps I keep undershooting and almost like not making the base, so I just go vertically and, you know, burn upward. We were actually just picking up a little re-entry heating there. I never expect that on Duna, but it does always happen. But it's a fairly safe place to re-enter because it has a very thin atmosphere. I believe it's actually kind of 6% of, it's kind of a 6% density relative to Kerbin's atmosphere, whereas in real life Mars I think has a 1% like Earth atmosphere basically. So yeah, it's a little easier to land on Duna because you have a little more kind of atmosphere for your parachutes to gain purchase on. Basically on Mars, you can pretty much not really land anything larger than a ton because the atmosphere is so thin. Unless you use propulsive landings, of course, like SpaceX are planning to do. But anyway, talking of propulsive landings, there's ours-ish, although partly parachutes, I guess. Anyway, it's not quite close enough to the base, though, so I'm just going to go and hop it over, do a quick little hop, and hopefully land close to, but not on the base. It would be quite annoying if I destroyed the base. Although it's a big base, I could destroy bits of it, and it'd probably be fine, depending on what's stored where. But yeah, we come down fairly close. It's looking nice. We've got a little rover down there, looking good. And we touched down and apparently didn't deploy our landing gear. Anyway, I do get a little closer because that wasn't quite close enough. We're going to have to connect these with those Kerbal attachment system pipes, so we want them to be quite close. And it looks nice when they're all tucked in. So yeah, I'm just putting this kind of in between the two extremities from the base sort of thing. Kind of like there-ish. I think I do move it. It is really hard to make really small movements with rocket engines. They're not super precise for when you're trying to land. You can see how much I'm just kind of failing at this. I always hate having to position things properly with rocket engines, but eventually I get it to a reasonably good position and I'm happy with it. It's looking nice enough there. Just rotate it a little bit, so it's looking good. And now we just need to detach those boosters, so we'll do that right now. Just fire up the engines, hit the decoupler, and they'll all fly off, except one of them for some reason. It throttles down like a bitch. So that'll just stay there forever. I guess it's got an extra MechJeb unit on it, that'll be helpful. But yeah, you can see the rest are just flying off and we'll slam into Duna somewhere. I'm sure the Dunans, I almost said Martians, the Dunans will think we're attacking, which I guess, yeah, I mean, there's no life on Duna, right? I've never asked. But anyway, back on Kerbin for a while, we actually need to go and fetch the crew of the Concordia, the other Duna crew who've recently returned from Duna. So we've got ourselves a Ares 3 vehicle. which is my Dragon 2 type spacecraft, capable of carrying 7 Kerbals. We've got a pilot in there to obviously fly it to orbit, and then we'll be fetching the 6 Kerbals off of the Concordia and bringing them home with all of their science and all of their stories to regale the Kerbals of the madness on Duna. Although I think they spent most of the time inside, I didn't really do that much with them. A few of them had cool rover journeys and did some cool stuff. A lot of them went to Ike, actually. I think the Ike crew got the better end of the stick, because they got to land on Duna, and they got to go to Ike twice. They got to do a bunch of cool stuff. The Duna people just kind of sat there and didn't do much. So yeah. But anyway, heroes nonetheless, we need to go and fetch them. So we're just going to use this not Titan, what's this vehicle called? Pulsar X? Yeah, Pulsar X vehicle. I haven't launched rockets in a while. I've just been doing stuff in orbit, because I have so much equipment in orbit now. Yeah, we're going to use that to push this little Ares 3 into orbit. But the Concordia is on a slightly inclined trajectory, so we're going to have to fix that in a bit. But for now, we just need to worry about getting to orbit. And we are in front of the spacecraft, which is much nicer and makes it easier to dock. Anyway, we're going to ditch the rocket now, which I totally forgot to land. Fuck. I'm going to have to do that next episode. I have to notice things like that while I'm commentating these. I totally forgot to land that rocket. That's a really expensive piece of hardware. Yeah, I'll make sure I bring that back next episode. But anyway, we're just here making our plane change and then doing a quick prograde burn for a little while until we get our encounter. As you can see, we're going to come close to the vehicle. There we go, about 1.2 kilometers, like that, and then we arrive at the vehicle. A bunch of maneuvering in, blah, blah, blah. We've got more Duna stuff to do, so here we are, just getting ready to dock. The beautiful Concordia, a very small spacecraft compared to the Canterbury, although I think I prefer how this spacecraft looks. The Canterbury didn't come out quite how I wanted it to. I've got a much cooler idea for the Joule spacecraft, which will be taking people to Joule, because we need to colonize Joule. Although my probe won't get there for a while, and I feel kind of weird sending Kerbals before the probe has gone and explored it, but most of my contracts are for Joule right now, so I want that probe to get there because I have like millions of funds tied up in Joule contracts. Anyway, we'll forget about that now as we dock to the Concordia and start transferring crew across. I'm sure they're very happy to be getting home because this isn't the biggest of spacecraft. There's quite a lot of space. There's those containers on the outside and all of that. Anyway, after we've transferred almost all of our crew through, we start transmitting our science back because I realized I left 500 science in the lab. And then we go an extra 500 science. And then we'll get the final Kerbal across. We transferred the other ones, cut that out. But then I realized, oh god, we left a bunch of science in the Concordia. So we need to get Valentina out to go and fetch it. I think there's 27 reports in there. None in that vehicle over there. But we'll get back to the Ares now and put them all in. 27 contracts. I think it was about 1,800 science or something. So I'm glad I got that. But now it's time to head home, to go back to Kerbin. I'm sure the Kerbals will be extremely excited to see their families and to feel real Kerbin gravity and to stretch their legs. They've been cooped up for too long. Although they did have some time on the base, they got to walk around a little bit. They're fine, but they've been in space for like 2 years now, so I'm sure they're very much looking forward to coming home. And we have a bit of a re-entry, fire up the engines a bit to pull us closer to the space center, and then we're going to land. We'll be a little north of the space center because our orbit was inclined, but it's all good. The parachutes pull. We're going to be landing mostly on parachutes because we used most of our fuel to make sure we land fairly close to the KSC. And there we go. Slowing down, touching down onto the ground, and the Kerbals are back. Our first Duna mission is finally complete. And we get about, I can't actually read the number because post-production windows are super low resolution, but we get a lot of science, I think maybe 2,000. We get a bunch of money back, and Valentina and Jeb level up to level 4. I think Adam Kerman does as well. But yeah, a bunch of level 4 Kerbals. There we go, fuck yeah. Anyway, still around Kerbin. I almost said Minmus for some reason. We're fueling up the fuel shuttle because we're going to need to fill up the Concordia with fuel. We're also going to need to probably bring up a docking adapter so we can actually do that because it doesn't have a big docking port on it. But anyway, we'll worry about that later. We just need to go and send this out to Minmus to get some fuel, because we don't want to have to ship up all of the fuel for the Concordia on rockets. We might have to ship up a little bit, just because it would be way more convenient, but this is going to head out to Minmus to bring back the majority of the fuel, because the Concordia, as I've said, will be heading to Eve, and that is, I think, about 65 days away. So we want this heading out to Minmus right now, since a Minmus mission plus mining is probably almost a 20-day mission, really, so we don't want to be kind of cutting it to the last minute. So yeah, we'll need to be preparing the Concordia quite a lot. I mean, yeah, it'll be cool to go to Eve. No Kerbals will be landing on Eve, as I've said, but they will be landing on Gilly, and we will be dropping some probes into Eve. None of my probes have ever survived. Actually, no, none of them have. All of them have exploded. So that's good. And then we just do a quick plane change here, lining ourselves up so we'll actually encounter Minmus so that we can go and get that sweet, sweet fuel. Although I doubt it is very sweet. Probably just, useful for engines. Anyway, back around Duna. We're just sending out the other habitation module now. We took that brief intermission when I realized that I had a bunch of stuff to do around Kerbin. But now we just need to send this out. Apparently the antennas are working weirdly. And annoyingly, the Concordia is no longer... no, not the Concordia. The Canterbury is no longer working as a control plane. So I have a 60-second delay again. Which freaking sucks. Maybe some of the hardware on this on this habitation module was being used to make it a control station. Maybe you need like a big probe core or something. But yeah, so I have the 60-second delay again, which is fine because this lands on big parachutes anyway, so I can just pull them really early and they won't pull until they won't actually deploy until a good time. We did just lose an antenna there, but I really don't need it because this is just going to be sitting on the surface of Duna. Anyways, you can see, yeah, the parachutes just pull when I tell them to in these UIs. Good way of getting around the flight computer. A good way of getting around the signal delay even. I'm not sure how much I'm actually enjoying remote tech anymore. It seems to just kind of hinder my stuff more than anything else. But I can't uninstall it now because all the parts are covered in remote tech, so that's semi-annoying. Anyway, though, this touches down. This was a much more cut-down version of the landing because you saw this exact same mission like 5 minutes ago. And then we get it much closer to the base and all is good. Fairly lined up, kind of in the same sort of position, just kind of 90 degrees around the thing as the other module is, and then we're just going to decouple the engines and fuel tanks, which was a little harder because with the 60-second time delay you actually have to time throttling up the engines to the 60 seconds, so that's kind of annoying. But there they go, everything is good. One of them still doesn't fly away one of them doesn't fly away, it just shuts down its engine for some reason. But yeah, anyway, the final bit we need to bring down is this little module, this little power module here. So annoyingly, though, it doesn't have a bar antenna on it, which means that we can't communicate into the atmosphere. So we fetch ourselves an engineer out and grab this little bar antenna here, because normal antennas just break off, but these are very durable. So we're going to go and attach this over there using the Kerbal attachment system, and the Kerbal inventory system is what allows me to actually have an inventory. And yeah, there we go, just attach that there, and that should be good. Little did I know. Yeah, we experienced some more annoying remote tech stuff. Anyway, we'll put the Kerbal back in there and get that undocked and heading down, well, trying to head down to Minmus, to Duna. God, there's too many planets. But you'll start to see my problems here. Annoyingly, sometimes when you decouple a vehicle, the signal delay carries through to your translation control, so you can see it's kind of rotating here. I'd pressed the button 60 seconds ago, which is really annoying, and I think what this is actually, at first this has happened to me a few times, and I've always kind of just put it down to glitches, but I don't think it is. I think it's because it doesn't have a mech-jeb unit on it. I think a mech-jeb unit is used to, like, control things in real time. So that's really annoying. So I'm going to have a real trouble getting this down to the surface of Duna because it has a 60-second delay on every control input. So I'm going to solve that next episode. Maybe just attach a spare mech-jeb unit to it or something like that. Yeah, it's just one of those things about remote tech. I guess I always put mech-jeb stuff on it, so I've been kind of circumventing this in the past. But yeah, anyway. We are forgetting about that now. We're back around Kerbin, and now around Minmus. We're going to get the fuel shuttle into orbit so that it can start fueling up. Because, yeah, I didn't really want to try and land that module with a 60-second time delay on every input. That would be maddening. But for now, yeah, we're good. We're just going to warp around so that we can land next to the Minmus miner in the daytime, because we don't want to be landing in the dark. Although I can now because I have that ambient light mod. I should probably just do that more, but still, it's nicer to land in the day. So yeah, that'll all happen and everything will be fine. This Minmus miner this Minmus mining operation has been very useful to me. It's provided me a lot of fuel for free. I'm sure it's more than paid itself off by now, though it was quite expensive to set up. And I still need to do that contract for filling up the station with ore. We need to do 2 more trips for that, but today was mostly about landing on Duna, and our Duna base is looking pretty good now, and the mining operation is pretty nice. I mean, we haven't sent any Kerbals down there, so we haven't been able to interact with anything, but that'll be next episode as well. This has mostly been a just setting stuff up thing, but I do love Duna. It's a beautiful planet. And yeah, and Eve also. It'll be nice to go to Eve. Haven't sent Kerbals there in a long time. Probably since the last series I did. What was that? I don't remember. Maybe Solar Civilization or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, though, we're coming down now. Just tweaking our trajectories so that we land close to the miner. And it looks like we're going to come down actually right next to it first time, which is a rarity. Usually I have to do one of those annoying hops I'm really bad at. But yeah, coming down really close. I was actually a little worried I'd fire up those engines and rip off those solar panels. That'd be really bad, because then this whole mining operation sort of falls apart. But there we go, touchdown nice and gently on the surface of Minmus. The miner's radiators always seem to be really hot when I turn up here. But anyway, we've got our Kerbal out now. We need to go and fetch the little kind of pipe port from over here so that we can move it, so we can attach the fuel shuttle more easily to the miner. However, whenever I try and grab it, it seems to think I'm trying to grab the fuel tank, and I try pretty much everything, but it won't work, and it's telling me it's too heavy, and I'm being like, no, it's not too heavy. Why are all of these mods pissing me off today? Remote tech screwing me around, because apparently I don't understand it, which I don't, because apparently the MechJeb thing is the whole reason all of this has been not driving me crazy for the whole however many episodes, and yeah. Kerbal attachment system, a great mod, just a little glitchy. As you can see here, it attached it to himself and then stayed in the air. What the fuck's going on? This is always very frustrating, trying to fly around and attach pipes, but that's just the nature of this. But it's awesome that this mod exists anyway. But yes, now it is attached, and at 4 times time accelerate, it's a little less mind-numbingly crazy annoying. Anyway, so yeah, then we're going to fire up the ISRU and turn some of that ore into liquid fuel. We will need a little bit of oxidizer, because of course the Concordia has a high thrust mode, where it uses liquid fuel and oxidizer, but mostly it will just be using liquid fuel for those nuclear engines. But anyway, this is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back for next episode, where we will be, we'll be doing more stuff on Duna. We'll spend more time on Duna. We'll be actually sending Kerbals there, and it should all be great. But anyway, if you want to go check out a couple more videos now, there's my first episode of City Skylines Mass Transit, and also my most recent episode of Fall of Kerbin. But yeah, there's also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description if you're interested. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been KSP with Tate. I'll see you next time.